don't know about you, but when I think of a professional, usually it's someone who knows what they're talking about. Heck, that's the reason we ask them a question to begin with. But I think we all know some people who are more than a little stubborn about what they think they know. Canon don't make professional cameras. Okay, buddy. EMT went to a chest pain call out for an older guy. The wife kept insisting that he needed just a few more sprays of her GNT, a potent and potentially dangerous oral spray used to treat angina, and he'd be fine. She had already administered goodness knows how much before we got there, which had tanked his blood pressure to dangerously low levels. Also, after checking him over, it became pretty clear the pain was a result of a chest infection and not a cardiac event. So as we transport him and try to prevent him from dying from an overdose of medicine she gave him, she is still harping on that we need to give him more because she knows it will work. When we turn our backs, she whips out a bottle of it and tries to give him another couple of doses. After we confiscated it and sat her back down, she demanded we let her use our truck's cell phone to call her manager and complain that we were idiots and didn't know our job. When we got to the hospital, she then tried to convince the staff there to dose her husband with unnecessary and potentially lethal medication. When we left, I noticed security attempting to disarm her of her bottle of GNT. We gave it back when we got to the ER. Presumably, she tried to dose him again. Physician, my mom knows more about medicine than me. I don't even try. Sigh. Doctor here too. My mom also knows more about medicine than me. Double sigh. Social worker here. I had a banker try to tell me human trafficking didn't exist because she had never personally met anyone who had been a victim. Well, I've never seen a drug overdose victim or met a male sex worker. I'm a travel consultant. I have been working in the hotel world for 15 years, working in hotels as the front desk, sales, group block coordinator, reservation sales agent, and now I'm a travel consultant. There was an AskReddit thread. I forgot what it was for, but someone was nagging about how the hotel couldn't refund them. How dare they tell me to contact Expedia? Many of the people responding to that person were like, "You go girl, you report that place," or something along those lines. I wrote a response to it and said, actually, the hotel really can't refund you if you went through Expedia. You didn't pay the hotel, you paid Expedia. But Expedia bought the room for the hotel, so therefore I did pay for the hotel. No, the room was Expedia's to sell, and you bought it, and the hotel couldn't refund you. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't, because Expedia has your payment, not the hotel. The third party doesn't provide anything to the hotel other than the dates of stay, your room type, and that's it. They don't even tell us your phone number most of the time. Sometimes they give us a throwaway email. That's bull, rabble. Well, no, that's not bull. Imagine if I bought 10 candy bars from a grocery store and then sold those candy bars at whatever price I decided was profitable. The people who bought those candy bars could not go to that grocery store and complain that something was wrong with it and demand a refund from them because they did not buy the candy bars from them. They bought it from me. The store may even have a nice refund policy, but I may have a non-refundable policy. And because you bought it from me, you're subject to whatever policy I have in place. Much like buying a room off of Expedia. I got this biblical flood response from people who claim to be like, "I work the front desk, I don't know what you're talking about." And other people who claim to have been avid travelers going, "That's bull, the hotel should do something, rabble." Dude, it is literally one of the most basic pieces of training you get in the hotel environment. That if you pay a third party for your reservation, any changes or refunds, etc. have to go through that company. I reckon none of those people who responded to me actually work in travel at all. Working in VFX, you will now and again expose someone to a naturally photographed shot you haven't worked on yet, only to hear that it looks fake. Similarly, a shot in which many things are indeed fake, some yets will inevitably pick out a real object and say it needs to be redone to fit in better. It just doesn't look like a natural part of the scene. Say what? It looks too synthetic. It's a physical prop. Shot in camera. What did you do to it? I let light fall on it in front of a light sensor. Also in VFX and animation, and the amount of people who think the computer literally does everything for you is maddening. One lady couldn't fathom why they would pay me to do my job when the computer just does it all for you anyway. It can't be that hard. Trust me, I wouldn't be working this much overtime if I clicked the rig or sim button and had my entire asset or shot instantly done. I'm an EOD technician. For some reason, there are a ton of combat engineers who think they can do my job better than I can. This was told to me by a coworker. While he was standing around, he saw a Humvee hauling butt towards him and his team. The terrain was very bumpy, so the vehicle was bouncing around. A combat engineer pulls up, gets out, and says he has to show them something that they need to help him with. In the bed, there is an armed anti-tank mine that wasn't even secured or anything. They immediately screamed at him and cleared the area of other personnel. They asked him what the frick he was thinking, and he was absolutely convinced that only the pressure of a tank running over the mine could detonate it. He was very wrong, and it could have gone off while it was bouncing around in the bed of the vehicle. He wouldn't listen. He was absolutely convinced that he was correct. Freaking moron is lucky to be alive. Well, he survived that ordeal, but probably got himself killed at some point after the fact. My buddy and his team moved the mine to a safe location and blew it in place. My coworkers do stupid things, but not things that actually blow up. Wow. I used to run a pub, and there's a classic saying, everyone knows how to do two jobs, their own and running a pub. I'm skeptical about the first one. I work for a tea shop. Before this, I worked for another tea shop in Britain. I once had a customer insist that green tea was caffeine-free. It's not, if you were wondering. I would like to clear up a few misconceptions about tea, but first I would like to state that I am not a scientist. I am in no way a scientific expert regarding tea. I have worked in the tea business for the last 6 years. I have had an extensive training and I am passionate about it. However, I admit that I do not know everything there is to know about tea. However, I do know this. All tea comes from the same plant called Camellia sinensis. The flavor properties, caffeine content changes depending on where and how it's grown, and then, more importantly, how it's processed and what changes the type of tea: black, green, yellow, oolong, puth, white, etc. Number 2, since all tea comes from the same plant, all tea has caffeine in it. That caffeine content changes based on the above methods, but also it can change every year on soil acidity, rainfall, etc. It also changes by which leaves and which parts of the plant leaves are used to make the tea. Number 3, tea has far less caffeine than coffee. Number 4, matcha tea is a green tea that is slowly grown in the shade in Japan and naturally produces more caffeine. It's finely ground, and because of that, the consumer is ingesting everything from that plant rather than just infusing tea leaves in water, which takes out some of the nutrients from the leaves. Number 4, not being a scientist, I have no idea about this rinsing a tea bag method to lower the caffeine content, but I have heard it mentioned throughout the years. However, the longer you brew your cup of tea, the more caffeine you will get out of it, so you can draw on your own conclusions there. Number 5, if you think green or white tea leaves are bitter, you're brewing it for too long. No more than 3 minutes and try to get the temperature of the water around 79 to 82 degrees Celsius, or 175 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have any way of telling the temperature, just let your kettle sit for a minute or two after it's boiled. Number 6, rooibos is a caffeine-free plant that's grown in South Africa. It has a very distinctive flavor that people either love or hate. Try it with honey and adding your own spices and it is divine. Also, if you like a milky tea, ignore the snobs and drink it like you normally would with black tea. Lawyer here. Someone just told me I was a butthole because I would not answer a real estate question involving a document I have never heard of for a deal in a jurisdiction I don't practice in. Told me I had to know about it and was just being difficult. Don't worry, if you gave them an answer you didn't like, you'd still be a butthole. Medical laboratory technician here. A patient told me that the blood services in our state have him on speed dial because his blood was needed to save all newborn babies. So I said, "Oh, you must be O negative." He replied very seriously, "No, I'm O positive." When I explained to him he probably was mistaken, he got very loud and condescendingly told me he's been donating for years and that if I had paid more attention in school, I would know the basics of how blood works. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I mainly do logos for small businesses and the like, and the amount of people who ask me to give them discounts because they could do it is absolutely ridiculous. Don't even get me started on people explaining to me why me doing work for them for free will help me in the long run. I'm a mechanic by trade. A guy I know bought an older European sports car to fix up. It doesn't run, so he got it for cheap. I told him that it's definitely going to cost him way more than he thinks, and it's not going to be easy for him to do it himself. Not to mention the difficulties of finding parts for it. He would probably save money if he just bought a new one. He just blew it off and gave me some strange, twisted reasoning about how he could do it cheaper and make it better. Okay, dude, whatever. So far, he's sunk thousands of dollars into it, and it still doesn't run. I believe that it's pretty well invested into a sunk cost fallacy at this point. Bye-bye retirement fund. Can think of no better investment than a used German luxury car. Parts are cheap, and cars like Audi are easy and even fun to service. My dad tried convincing a biology student of the importance of cryptozoology and the existence of Bigfoot. Bartender, I'm consistently amazed at how little people know about alcohol. I've got millions of stories, but there's one request I've been getting a lot lately. My bar has a Long Island variation. It's essentially a shot each of tequila, vodka, rum, and gin, along with a peach Snapple, Sprite, and 2 very sugary fruit juices, topped with grenadine. People are requesting this drink without the grenadine because they think that the extra sugar is gonna make them hungover. Nah man, you're hungover because you just took 4 shots and consumed 80 grams of sugar. Trust me, that less than 1/4 ounce of grenadine is not gonna make a difference.
Bye for now.